My father's name flashes on my phone screen for the 5th time. I watch it vibrate against my glass desk, the sleek surface a far cry from the scratched oak table where I did homework as a child. Outside my window, Chicago's skyline gleams in the afternoon sun. 15 stories up and 800 miles from the rancher home where I learned to make myself small. I hover my finger over ignore again. The leather chair creaks as I shift my weight. The phone falls silent. 3 seconds later, an email notification appears. From Lawrence Reynolds. Subject: Your sister needs you. Last chance. My stomach tightens as I open it, the words blurring together except for the final line. Chloe's wedding is the most important event of her life. Be there or forget about any future support. A voicemail notification pops up next. I press play and set it on speaker. Madeline, it's your father. His voice fills my apartment, commanding as ever. I don't know what game you're playing, but this has gone on long enough. Your sister's wedding is in 2 weeks, and the festivities start this weekend. If you can't put aside whatever grievance you have for Chloe's special time, then you can forget about any future support from this family. Your mother is beside herself with worry. Call me back immediately. A bitter laugh escapes my throat. I cross to the closet and pull out a framed diploma hidden behind winter coats. The gold embossing catches the light. Madeline Ann Reynolds, Bachelor of Science in Data Science, summa cum laude. 3 years collecting dust instead of hanging on my wall because old habits die hard. My phone buzzes with a text from my mother. Please call. Your father is getting impatient. I glance at the calendar on my desk. Chloe's 2-week wedding extravaganza is highlighted in angry red 14 days of ceremonies, parties, and photo shoots for the golden child's perfect day. I tap open my banking app. $138,947.32 in savings. More than enough to never need their support again. They just don't know it yet. A memory surfaces 3rd grade, clutching my report card with 5 perfect as. Mom at the kitchen table, nodding without looking up from her magazine. That's nice, honey. That same night, the living room erupting in cheers for Chloe's participation ribbon from the school play. Did you see how she projected her voice? She was the best one up there. Dad's face glowing with pride while I sat invisible on the stairs. The science fair my sophomore year. The blue ribbon I won for analyzing local water quality. The empty chairs where my parents should have been, they'd gone to Chloe's soccer game instead. She'd scored 1 goal and they talked about it for weeks. Principal Williams handed me my award. Your parents must be so proud. I nodded, the hollow feeling in my chest already familiar. Then senior year, the thick acceptance package from the University of Chicago. My hands trembling as I read the scholarship offer. Chicago? Mom's forehead creased with concern. That's so far away. Chloe might feel inferior if you go there when she's just attending community college. Dad didn't even look up from his newspaper. We've discussed this. You're staying local. End of story. The quiet negotiation that followed. I could live in the dorms at State, just 20 minutes away. For quiet study, I'd argued. They agreed, believing I'd surrendered. 2 weeks later, I boarded a bus to Chicago with everything I owned in 2 suitcases, leaving a carefully crafted paper trail of community college registration and a fake dorm assignment. The calculated risk of my first real independence. Now I stand before my bathroom mirror, no longer the invisible daughter. My reflection shows someone they wouldn't recognize confident, successful, unburdened by the need for their approval. I return to my desk and trace my fingers over my name on the diploma. Madeline Ann Reynolds, product analyst, 6-figure salary, invisible no more. My laptop screen glows as I open the airline website. My fingers move decisively across the keyboard, booking a first-class ticket home. Time they finally see me, I whisper to my reflection in the darkened screen. I pack my designer luggage with precision, tucking the diploma between layers of clothes. A gentle smile spreads across my face as I imagine their expressions when they finally learn who I've become. Have you ever had to hide your success from those who should have celebrated it most? What would you do if your family only valued you when they needed something from you? My homecoming is about to teach them a lesson they never expected. The rental car crunches over familiar gravel. I park behind a florist's span unloading cascades of white roses. My childhood home has transformed into something from a bridal magazine, with ivory fabric swags draped across the porch railings. My mother opens the door before I knock. Her hair is colored a precise shade of honey blonde, not a strand out of place. Madeline, finally. Her hug feels like a performance, too stiff and too brief. Decided to support your sister, I see. Inside, the house smells of vanilla candles and fresh paint. Wedding planning has turned every surface into a staging area. My father emerges from his study, reading glasses perched on his nose. He doesn't hug me, just nods over a clipboard. Good, you're here. The programs need to be folded and these guest welcome bags assembled. He thrusts the clipboard into my hands. Chloe needs these done by 4. I just walked in the door, Dad. And now you have something useful to do. Chloe appears at the top of the stairs, phone pressed to her ear. No, I specifically said cascading arrangement, not gathered. This is literally ruining everything. She spots me and holds up one finger in the universal sign for wait. Do you understand this is the most important day of my life? When she finally descends, she air kisses near my cheek. Mad, thank God. The caterer's threatening to quit, and Mom is useless with the seating chart. Nice to see you too, Chloe. Elliot's planning this surprise for the reception, and I need to make sure it coordinates with everything else. Elliot? I set down my bag. Her fiancé, my mother supplies. You'll meet him at dinner. He's absolutely wonderful. Such a brilliant investor. Crypto millionaire, Chloe corrects with obvious pride. Elliot Brady arrives at precisely 6:30, carrying an expensive bottle of wine and wearing a smile that doesn't quite reach his eyes. He's taller than I expected, with the kind of clean-cut handsomeness that belongs in commercials for luxury watches. The mysterious sister finally appears. He grips my hand too firmly. Chloe said you were some kind of computer genius hiding away in the big city. Product analyst, I correct. Sounds intense. He winks. I've got some friends developing an AI trading platform, revolutionary stuff. We should talk shop sometime. During dinner, Elliot dominates with tales of crypto investments and exclusive opportunities. My father hangs on every word. So which exchanges do you primarily trade on? I ask, during a rare pause. Elliot's smile freezes momentarily. Oh, a mix. Mostly private platforms, exclusive access through my network. Fascinating. And your company's based where? We're decentralized, he replies smoothly. The beauty of blockchain, right? I've got partners in Singapore, Zurich, Dubai. My father shoots me a warning look. Madeline, not everyone wants to discuss business at dinner. Later, searching for wedding programs in my father's study, I stumble across refinancing paperwork for the house, dated 3 weeks ago. The property I grew up in, which had been nearly paid off, now carries a sizable new mortgage. Voices drift from the adjacent dining room. Lawrence, are you sure about this second mortgage? My mother's worried tone freezes me in place. That's everything from my inheritance, too. Helen, Elliot has guaranteed 20% returns minimum. But $115,000 is... You wouldn't understand investments like these. My father cuts her off. This is what building real wealth looks like. I lean against the wall, my analyst brain calculating risk factors. Second mortgage, family savings, inheritance, all flowing toward Elliot's vague investment opportunity. He's a fraud. Aunt Helen's voice is barely above a whisper as we stand in the back garden, supposedly admiring her contributions to the wedding flowers. You see it too? I ask. She nods, her gray eyes so similar to mine sharp with concern. Your father won't listen to me. Started talking about how I've always been jealous of his success. Mr. Wilson down the street lost $50,000 in an exclusive investment opportunity last year, she continues. Sounded awfully familiar when I heard about Elliot's proposals. Madeline? A familiar voice calls from the fence line. Mr. Thomas, my old science teacher, waves. I've been following your career. That Chicago data science program you attended is one of the best in the country. I freeze. How did you... Unlike your parents, some of us actually pay attention. Aunt Helen pats my hand. For the first time since arriving, I feel seen. Dad, Mom, I think we need to talk about Elliot. We're in the living room that evening. What about him? My father doesn't look up from his newspaper. I've noticed some inconsistencies in his business claims. The way he describes his investments doesn't align with how crypto markets actually function. My mother sighs dramatically. Honestly, Madeline, you've always been jealous of your sister's happiness. This isn't about jealousy. His investment claims don't make mathematical sense. My father finally looks at me, his expression hardening. You don't understand business at this level, Madeline. Not everything fits into your little spreadsheets. The front door opens, and Chloe enters with Elliot. She immediately senses the tension. What's going on? Your sister has concerns about Elliot's business. Chloe's face crumples. Are you serious? You show up after 3 years and immediately try to ruin the only good thing in my life? Elliot places a protective arm around her. It's okay, babe. Some people just don't understand innovation. I look at their faces defensive, dismissive, deluded, and realize I've miscalculated. They don't want the truth. They want the comfortable fiction that makes Chloe special and Elliot a prince. The invisible daughter sees everything, but no one wants to look. When you see loved ones heading for disaster, how far should you go to protect them from themselves? Would you risk further rejection to save family who never appreciated you? I tuck myself into the corner booth at Rosie's coffee shop, the same spot where I studied calculus during high school. The vinyl seat squeaks beneath me, familiar yet foreign now. My laptop screen glows with open tabs, business registries, investment forums, social media profiles. 3 previous identities stare back at me. Ethan Lewis, Edward Lambert, Elliot Lawson. Now Elliot Lawrence. My finger traces the pattern on the screen. Same man, different names. Same charming smile, different victims. I sip my black coffee, its bitterness matching the taste in my mouth as I connect unmistakable dots. Need a refill, hon? Margie, the same waitress from my teenage years, appears at my elbow. Her eyes widen as she studies my screen. My cousin lost everything to a man who looked just like that. Called himself Edward something. My stomach tightens. Lambert? That's it. She sets the coffee pot down. Investment scheme. Left town right before the wedding. Broke her heart and emptied her savings. I pull up another browser window. Margie, would she talk to me? A woman in her 50s sits across from me 2 hours later, hands trembling around her mug. I thought I was special, Karen whispers. He made me feel chosen. My sister thinks the same thing. Karen slides a folder across the table. Pictures, bank statements, police reports that went nowhere. Her jaw tightens. He disappeared 3 days before our wedding, along with $60,000 and my mother's heirloom ring. The photographs confirm what I already know. The account statements show transfers to untraceable offshore accounts. The police reports detail 3 other victims with similar stories in 3 different states. I thank Karen and pack up my evidence. The wedding is 5 days away. The knot in my stomach tightens. Where have you been? Mother's voice cuts through the hallway as I step inside. The flower arrangements need checking, and Chloe's having a meltdown about the place cards. I glance at my watch barely past noon. I was researching something important. More important than your sister's wedding? She thrusts a checklist into my hands. Your father noticed your attitude problem. He says you've barely helped at all. A familiar weight settles on my shoulders. The invisible daughter, now visible only for criticism. I find Chloe in the dining room, surrounded by sample table settings and crumpled tissues. The calligrapher messed up the font. She glares at me through mascara-smudged eyes. Where were you? I've been texting for hours. I check my phone. 3 texts, the first sent 40 minutes ago. You've always done this. Chloe sniffles dramatically, disappearing when you're needed, then showing up to overshadow me. The accusation lands with practiced precision. For 23 years, my existence has somehow both fallen short and been too much. I'm trying to help you, Chloe. By avoiding wedding preparations, by questioning Elliot's business. Her voice rises. You can't stand that I found someone amazing while you're alone in Chicago doing whatever boring job pays your bills. I bite back the truth about my boring job that pays twice what she's ever earned. Instead, I pick up a place card and examine the allegedly wrong font. I can call the calligrapher, I offer. Dad already did. Chloe dabs her eyes. At least he supports me. The living room falls silent as I finish presenting my evidence. Printed screenshots, bank records, police reports, and Karen's signed statement is spread across the coffee table. My parents sit stunned on the sofa. Chloe perches on the armchair, face pale. Elliot stands by the fireplace, his expression carefully composed. This is clearly a case of mistaken identity. His smile doesn't reach his eyes. I have a common face. People mix me up all the time. 3 different women in 3 different states. I keep my voice steady. All with the same experience of a man who matched your description, used names similar to yours, and disappeared with their money right before the wedding. Madeline, my father's voice carries a warning. This is absurd. Dad, look at the pictures. I push a photo toward him. Look at the timeline, look at the pattern. I've never seen this woman in my life, Elliot insists, gesturing at Karen's statement. Chloe jumps to her feet. I can't believe you'd go this far to ruin my happiness. Tears stream down her face. You've always been jealous of me. Jealous? The word catches me off guard. I'm trying to protect you. By ambushing my fiancé with these fabrications? Chloe snatches the papers from the table, crumpling them in her fist. Chloe, I reach for her arm. The second mortgage, your retirement fund, Mom's inheritance, it's all gone to his investment opportunity. Don't you see the pattern? That's enough. My father stands, face flushed. You need to leave this house right now. Elliot places a comforting hand on my father's shoulder. Lawrence, it's all right. She's just concerned for her sister, misguided but coming from a good place. His practiced sympathy makes my skin crawl. I'm not leaving. I stand my ground, straightening to my full height. And I'm not the same invisible daughter anymore. Silence falls across the room. What are you talking about? My mother asks. I didn't go to community college. The truth rushes out after years of containment. I graduated top of my class from the University of Chicago 3 years ago. I'm a product analyst at Tech Fusion. I make 6 figures. I've been supporting myself entirely since I was 18. Their stunned faces would be satisfying under different circumstances. That is impossible, my father stammers. Is it? I pull out my company ID badge. Check my LinkedIn profile. Call my office. I've been someone else entirely while you were too busy with your golden child to notice. Chloe sinks back into her chair, her expression flickering between shock and disbelief. And now I'm giving you one chance, your last chance to see the truth before it's too late. I gather the scattered evidence, carefully reassembling the case. This man is not who he claims to be. The wedding is in 5 days. His pattern is to disappear 3 days before the ceremony, once he has access to all the funds. Elliot's mask slips for just a second. A flash of calculation crosses his face before the charming smile returns. I think we've all heard enough fantasy for one day. My father's voice has regained its authority. Madeline, I won't ask again. Leave now. I look at each of them, my father's rigid certainty, my mother's conflicted loyalty, Chloe's defensive anger, Elliot's practiced concern. When he disappears with everything you have, I say quietly, gathering my belongings, remember that someone tried to warn you. The front door feels heavier than it did when I was 17, sneaking out to study at the library. This time, I'm not hiding who I am. This time, I'm walking away with the truth they refuse to see. Have you ever had to stand alone with the truth while everyone you loved chose comfortable lies? What would you do if you were me? Walk away or fight harder for a family that refused to listen? My next decision will change everything. My phone won't stop buzzing. I set it face down on my kitchen counter and pour another cup of coffee, watching the steam rise in the morning light of my Chicago apartment. 2 days before Chloe's wedding, and the notifications have evolved from demanding to desperate. I flip the phone over, 17 missed calls, 23 text messages, 5 voicemails. The first voicemail plays on speaker. Madeline, he's gone. My father's voice cracks a sound I've never heard before. Elliot disappeared last night. Call us back. The second, the accounts are empty. Everything. Even your mother's retirement fund. His commanding tone has vanished, replaced by something hollow. The third catches me off guard. The police said without a written contract, there's little they can do. My mother's voice trembles. They called it a civil matter. Please, Maddie, we need you to come home. She hasn't called me Maddie since I was 10. Chloe's text glows on the screen. You were right. I didn't listen. Please help us. I trace my finger around the rim of my coffee mug. From my 15th floor window, Lake Michigan stretches blue and boundless. 15 stories up and a lifetime away from the family that only sees me when disaster strikes. My mentor Vivian answers on the second ring. You sound troubled, she says instead of hello. They finally believe me about Elliot, I tell her, now that he's gone with their money. And they want your help. Yes. Vivian's silence holds years of wisdom. She helped me build my career when my own parents couldn't be bothered to attend my graduation. What are you considering? She finally asks. I press my forehead against the cool glass of my window. I haven't decided yet. Boundaries aren't walls, Madeline. They're doors you control. After we hang up, I book a flight home for the second time this month. The difference. This time, I pack only enough clothes for 3 days. The wedding tent stands half dismantled in the backyard when my cab pulls up. White chairs stacked against the fence. The elaborate flower arrangements now wilting still adorn the porch rails. My mother opens the door before I knock. Her makeup-free face aged 5 years in 2 days. You came. Her arms hover for a hug I don't step into. My father paces the living room, phone pressed to his ear. He hangs up when he sees me. His eyes flick to my designer handbag, the watch on my wrist. We thought perhaps you might be able to help with. He clears his throat. Financial assistance. Until we sort this out. What will the Hendersons think? My mother wrings her hands. And the country club board, your father is treasurer. Chloe sits curled on the couch, wearing sweatpants and one of my old high school t-shirts she must have found in my former bedroom. Her eyes are swollen. If you had been more supportive from the beginning, I might have listened. Her voice lacks its usual edge, but the blame lands familiar nonetheless. You were always so negative about him. I set my handbag on the coffee table and unbutton my coat. The living room feels smaller than I remember. The walls still display Chloe's dance trophies and not a single one of my academic achievements. I can help with some things, I say, my voice steady. Not all. My father straightens. Now, Madeline, as your father, I can help you file police reports properly. I can contact my colleague who specializes in financial fraud recovery. I can connect you with a lawyer who handles cases like this. I take the points off on my fingers. I cannot replace the money you lost. The silence stretches taut between us. But, my mother starts. I earn 6 figures. I have substantial savings. And I will not sacrifice my financial security to rescue you from a situation I explicitly warned you about. My father's face reddens. This family has supported you your entire life. A laugh escapes me short. Unexpected. Did you? When? We put a roof over your head. Food on the table. That's the legal minimum, Dad. Chloe uncurls from the couch. So you're just going to abandon us? After being right? Is that what matters to you, being right? I meet her gaze steadily. What matters to me is being respected, being heard. I exhale slowly. You need me now, but you've never wanted me. There's a difference. My mother collapses into a chair. How can you be so cold? I learned from experts. The words slip out before I can catch them. For the first time, they all truly look at men through me or past me. They see the woman who built herself without their notice, who succeeded without their approval. These are my boundaries, I say quietly. I will help you navigate this legally. I will stay 3 days. I will not empty my savings account or co-sign loans. Those are my terms. My father starts to speak, stops, then tries again. When did you become this person? When you weren't looking. Is it our obligation to help family when they've treated us poorly? Or is setting boundaries an act of self-respect? What conditions would you set before helping those who only turn to you in crisis? Father paces the living room, each heavy footfall drumming his authority into the floorboards I once tiptoed across. As head of this family, I've always made decisions with everyone's best interests at heart. He stops, squares his shoulders toward me. This situation requires a united front. I sit perched on the edge of the same armchair, where I'd curl up with books as a child, trying to disappear. Not anymore. Mother wrings her hands, wedding ring clicking against her knuckles. Blood is thicker than water, Madeline. Surely you understand that now. The familiar weight of their expectations presses down. I straighten my spine. You've always thought you were better. Chloe's voice cracks. Her mascara-streaked face bears little resemblance to the beaming bride-to-be from wedding invitations still scattered across the coffee table. Perfect Madeline with her fancy job and big city life. I check my watch. They've been at this for 27 minutes. The coordinated pressure, the guilt, the attempt to make me fold like the paper dolls Chloe and I once played with. She got the pretty dresses. I got the torn scraps. When I was 8, I say, voice steady, I won the district spelling bee. You told me you couldn't come because Dad had an important meeting. Father's mouth opens. I raise my hand. I saw you both at Friendly's afterward, with Chloe, celebrating her participation ribbon from field day. The silence hangs thick as summer heat. 10th grade. My science project on agricultural runoff won state recognition. The ceremony was the same night as Chloe's choir concert, where she sang in the back row. You chose the concert. Mother's gaze drops to her lap. My high school graduation you left immediately after because Chloe had a date to prom and needed help with her hair. The grandfather clock ticks in the corner, marking seconds of uncomfortable truth. Christmas 2020. I got you each thoughtful gifts based on conversations we'd had that year. You gave me a generic gift card with the wrong name on it. The front door opens with a familiar creak. Aunt Helen stands framed in the doorway, clutching her purse like a shield. I saw it all. Her voice wavers but holds. Every recital you missed, every achievement you downplayed. I watched this child wilt while you fawned over her sister. Father's face flushes crimson. This is family business, Helen. I am family, my aunt says. Someone in this room needs to acknowledge what happened in this house. I rise from the chair, my full height suddenly apparent in this room, where I spent so many years trying to shrink myself. I'll help with the house. My voice fills the space I never claimed before. I'll cover the second mortgage. I'll arrange for the credit card debt to be consolidated. Their faces flash with relief, quickly hidden. But I won't help with your reputation. I won't pretend Chloe wasn't scammed by a man any decent background check would have flagged. I won't lie to the neighbors about where the money went. I meet each of their eyes in turn. I won't attend any community functions where you parade me around as the dutiful daughter who swooped in to save the day. Father's jaw clenches. You don't get to dictate terms in my house. I do when I'm the one with the means to save it. The words taste unfamiliar, powerful, certain. My assistance comes with legal protections for me. The money will be handled through formal channels with documentation. You won't have direct access to any funds. Think of it as a business transaction, not a family bailout. Mother's eyes widen. We're not some charity case, Maylin. No, you're not. Charity doesn't come with requirements. This does. From my briefcase, I withdraw 3 copies of a document my lawyer prepared. The paper makes a crisp sound as I place them on the coffee table. This outlines the terms of my financial assistance. One-time solution, not an ongoing relationship. I'll transfer the funds to pay off the second mortgage directly to the bank. The credit card consolidation will go through a financial advisor I've selected. This is ridiculous. Father blusters, but his eyes track the papers. Second page is an acknowledgement. I tap the document. It states that for years, you consistently favored one child over the other, creating an environment of emotional neglect. Mother gasps. We would never sign such a thing. Then I'll leave, and you can explain to the bank why you can't make next month's payment. The room falls quiet except for Chloe's ragged breathing. Father reaches for his reading glasses with shaking hands. You've become hard. I've become honest. I remain standing. The world didn't break me, neither did you, but I won't pretend anymore. He reads silently, pen hovering above the signature line. His hand trembles. Your mother and I did our best. Your best was deeply unequal. The words emerge without anger, just truth. 10 minutes later, all 3 signatures mark the page. I text my financial advisor to proceed with the arrangements we discussed. I pull out my phone and make a call. Miss Winters, we're proceeding with Plan A. Yes, the full arrangement. I listen briefly. Thank you. The documentation has been signed. You'll receive copies within the hour. I turn to my family. Rachel Winters is a certified financial advisor who specializes in family debt restructuring. She'll contact you tomorrow to begin the process. Everything will go through her, not me. Father opens his mouth to object. This isn't negotiable, I say. She'll ensure the mortgage gets paid and creditors are handled properly. The money never touches your accounts directly. I gather my things without rush or ceremony. No tearful embraces, no promises to call soon. I hope you find peace with your choices. I straighten my jacket, check that I have everything. Aunt Helen follows me onto the porch. Will you be all right? The afternoon sun warms my face as I look at the street where I once waited for a school bus, dreaming of escape. I already am. I walk to my rental car, back straight, steps measured. The rearview mirror shows the house growing smaller, but I don't look back. Some bridges can't be rebuilt. Some shouldn't be. Sunlight streams through the bay windows of my home office, casting golden rectangles across the maple desk where I've arranged my life in neat, purposeful rows. My Chicago apartment is gone traded for this craftsman bungalow with its solid bones and history. 1 year since I walked away from the Reynolds family drama. The diploma now hangs centered on the wall. Madeline Ann Reynolds, Bachelor of Science in Data Science, summa cum laude. No longer hidden behind winter coats, no longer a secret. My laptop chimes with an incoming video call from Layla, the 3rd student in my mentorship program for first-generation college women. Her face appears, bright with news about a scholarship interview. I used that preparation technique you taught me, she says, tucking her dark hair behind her ear. When they asked why I deserved it more than others, I didn't apologize or minimize. I told them exactly what I'd accomplished with it. And I lean forward. Her smile breaks wide. They called an hour ago. I got it. You earned it, I correct her gently. There's a difference. After the call, I step into my backyard garden. Spring has coaxed the first green shoots from soil I've amended and nurtured through seasons of patience. My fingers brush the tender leaves of tomato seedlings. These will grow strong, unlike the withered roots I left behind. The letter from my therapist, Dr. Chen, sits on the patio table. 1 year of weekly sessions documented in her precise handwriting. Patient demonstrates significant progress in establishing healthy boundaries and recognizing her inherent value, separate from family validation. Wednesday afternoons still belong to the community center where I teach financial literacy to young women. Last week, Tanya, quick-witted 17-year-old with a spark that reminds me of myself, spotted the warning signs in a pyramid scheme targeting her mother. I showed her the numbers don't add up, she told me, pride straightening her spine. My phone buzzes with Aunt Helen's monthly update. I scan the text. Dad and Mom still struggling to refinance the house. Chloe working part-time at the local bank, attending therapy twice a month. No mention of attempts to contact me directly. The boundary holds firm on both sides. The garden timer chimes. Time to prepare for tonight. The community center auditorium fills with steady applause as I walk toward the podium. The mentorship program I founded has been recognized for its impact on first-generation college students. The award feels substantial in my hands, glass and metal catching the light, solid and real. I scan the crowd as I speak. No empty chairs where parents should sit. Instead, Dr. Chen nods encouragingly from the 3rd row. My neighbor Mrs. Grayson, who brings me heirloom tomato seedlings, beams with unrestrained pride. Colleagues from work who value my analytical mind for exactly what it is. Friends who ask how I'm doing and actually wait for the answer. When I started this program, I tell the audience, I thought I was helping others find what I never had. What I discovered instead was that worth doesn't come from external validation. It grows from within, when we truly see ourselves. Back home, I open my laptop to finalize details for the Reynolds Visibility Scholarship for academically accomplished students whose achievements have been overlooked. The essay question reads, describe a time your contributions went unrecognized and how you maintained your sense of value. A notification pops up, a mail from Sasha, my first mentee. You saw me when no one else did. That changed everything. As twilight softens the edges of the day, I water my garden with methodical care. The tomato plants stand alongside peppers, zucchini, and herbs, each one chosen, planted, and tended by hands that know their own strength. The rustle of leaves in the evening breeze sounds like whispered approval. I touch the stem of a rose bush I pruned severely last fall. It's sprouting new growth, stronger than before. Some things grow stronger when cut back, I whisper, a smile tugging at my lips as I survey the life I've built, thriving, rooted, and finally, completely visible. I step through the front door of my childhood home, the familiar scent of cinnamon and pine mingling in the air. My heels click against the hardwood floor, a sound that once meant coming home. The black cocktail dress I chose fits perfectly, simple, elegant, appropriate for Christmas Eve with family, my family. The word catches in my throat. Marissa, you made it. Dad's voice lacks warmth despite the crackling fire in the living room hearth. He takes my coat with mechanical politeness, hanging it without meeting my eyes. The house gleams with holiday perfection. Garland draped across the staircase, vintage glass ornaments catching light from the bay window. Mom's collection of nutcrackers standing at attention on the mantel, exactly as they've been arranged for 30 years. I move toward the living room, past the family photos lining the hallway, then stop cold. Above the fireplace hangs an enormous new portrait, at least 3 feet wide, in an ornate gold frame. Mom, Dad, and Brielle beam at the camera, posed against a backdrop of autumn leaves. 3 faces where there should be 4. Do you like it? Mom appears at my elbow, glass of Cabernet in hand. We had it done in October, at Parkview Gardens. The photographer was just marvelous. My lungs constrict. The portrait isn't awkwardly cropped or hastily edited. It was planned without me. They drove to the gardens, coordinated their outfits in complementary earth tones, smiled for the camera, and never once picked up the phone to include me. Beautiful. The word scrapes my throat. Mom pats my arm and drifts away, leaving me staring at the physical manifestation of what I've always known but never wanted to confirm. I am an afterthought. A footnote. The child who doesn't quite fit the family portrait. Present time. Brielle's voice cuts through my thoughts. At 26, my sister still squeals about gifts like a child, clapping as she kneels beside the Christmas tree. We gather in the living room, perching on furniture arranged to showcase the 10-foot Fraser fir that Dad always insists on, despite its ridiculous proportions for their modest living room. Ornaments from 5 decades glitter among the branches, me, kindergarten clothespin reindeer, hanging near the bottom, practically hidden behind a branch. Dad distributes gifts with ceremonial precision. Brielle, this one's for you. Karen, for you, dear. Marissa, here. The package in my hands is lightweight, wrapped in what appears to be leftover birthday paper, the corners hastily folded. I carefully remove the tape while Brielle tears through expensive gold wrapping on a large box. Inside my package, a navy blue knit beanie, with the price tag still attached, $12.99, from the mall kiosk I'd passed on my way here. Oh my God, you didn't! Brielle's shriek draws everyone's attention as she pulls out a caramel-colored leather handbag, the designer logo prominently displayed. I can't believe you got me the Marcella tote. It's $1,500. Mom beams. You deserve something special, sweetheart. I run my finger over the scratchy acrylic of my new hat, trying to ignore the burning behind my eyes. Try it on, Marissa. Dad gestures toward my beanie without actually looking at me. I pull it over my carefully styled hair. Thanks. No one notices the tremor in my voice. My mind flashes back to the day my acceptance letter arrived from Colorado's architecture program. I burst through the front door, waving the envelope, heart pounding with pride. That's wonderful, honey, Mom had said, barely glancing up from her magazine. But you know we can't help with tuition. The timing is just bad with the market the way it is. 3 months later, they threw Brielle a lavish going-away party before her semester abroad in Florence. It's an investment in her future, Dad had explained while handing her a new credit card. Art requires immersion. I worked night shifts at the campus coffee shop, fell asleep during morning lectures, and graduated anyway. Dinner's ready, Mom announces, breaking my reverie. We migrate to the dining room, where Brielle immediately launches into a detailed account of her latest gallery showing. The curator said my use of negative space was revolutionary, she explains, gesturing with her wine glass. He's considering featuring me in the spring showcase. Mom and Dad lean forward, entranced by her every word. I pick at my turkey, waiting for a natural pause. I signed a contract with Westridge Properties last week, I finally say. They want me to redesign their entire downtown office complex. Dad nods vaguely. Mom glances at me, then turns back to Brielle. That's nice, dear, but did you hear about Brielle's piece that sold to that Silicon Valley executive? Tell her about it, Brie. I look at their faces animated as they gaze at my sister, distant when they turn to Mia and suddenly understand with perfect clarity. The miss isn't the first time they've erased me. It's just the first time they've been honest about it. Have you ever noticed the moment when you became invisible to the very people who should see you most clearly? For me, it wasn't the missing face in the portrait, it was the missing place in their hearts. I spread my rental application across my kitchen table, squinting at the small print that will determine if I can upgrade from this one-bedroom apartment with the leaky bathroom faucet. 6 years out of college, and I'm still pinching pennies. The security deposit alone is 3 weeks of careful budgeting. My phone buzzes. Unknown number. Marissa Morgan speaking. Miss Morgan? This is Rebecca Winters from the Southbridge County Records Office. Her voice carries the official tone of someone who spends her days surrounded by paperwork. I'm calling about your property tax assessment. I think you have the wrong person. I tuck the phone between my ear and shoulder, continuing to fill in my monthly income on the rental form. You are Marissa Eleanor Morgan? Social Security ending in 4,738? My pen pauses. Yes, but according to our records, you've owned the property at 247 Maple Street in Southbridge for nearly 6 years now. We're updating tax records and noticed some inconsistencies. The rental application blurs before me. It's impossible. I don't own property anywhere. Ma'am, I'm looking at the deed transfer dated May 12, 2018. Transferred from the estate of Alvin Morgan to Marissa E. Morgan. Grandpa Alvin, my father's father. The man who taught me to build birdhouses when I was 8. The man whose funeral I stood at alone while my parents and Brielle arrived fashionably late. There must be a mistake, I say, but my voice lacks conviction. You might want to come down to our office. Bring identification. 3 hours later, I sit surrounded by property documents in a windowless room at the county clerk's office. My grandfather's will rests open before me, his familiar handwriting on the self-prepared attachment. To my granddaughter Marissa, I leave my home at 247 Maple Street, knowing she alone will appreciate its bones and history. As you can see, Rebecca says, sliding another document across the table, the property has been continuously rented since your grandfather's passing. Standard rate for the neighborhood, $2,400 monthly. The rental ledger shows 72 consecutive months of payments. I do the math quickly. $172,800. Who's been collecting the rent? Rebecca taps another document. The property manager, Gerald Morgan. My father. My father, who 6 years ago told me Grandpa had left just a few keepsakes to be divided among the family. My father, whose signature appears on every rental agreement, every maintenance receipt. My father, who makes a 15% management fee on every payment, who has been cashing checks for over $140,000 that should have been mine. The betrayal sits like ice in my stomach. Miss Morgan, are you all right? Fine, I whisper, though I'm anything but. My mind races back to Grandpa's funeral. Mom pulling Dad aside, her whispered words carrying in the empty funeral home. She doesn't need to know everything. The pieces click into place like a door locking shut. 6 years ago, Brielle's cramped apartment suddenly underwent a mysterious renovation. New hardwood floors, custom lighting fixtures, that ridiculous soaking tub she couldn't stop bragging about. Mom and Dad's sudden decision to remodel their kitchen with granite countertops. The spring break trip to Aspen where I wasn't invited because it was last minute and we didn't think you could get away from work. All funded with my inheritance. Your grandfather was very clear about his wishes, Marissa. Margaret Hollis's silver hair catches the afternoon light streaming through her office window. She was my grandfather's attorney and, apparently, the executor of his will. He wanted you to have security. Then why didn't you make sure I got it? My voice cracks with the question I've been holding since discovering the truth 3 days ago. Margaret removes her glasses, rubbing the bridge of her nose. The will was properly filed with the court. The deed transfer was recorded. Your father presented power of attorney documentation. She sighs. It wasn't until the county's audit that the discrepancy was noticed. Discrepancy, I repeat. Is that what we're calling theft now? Legally speaking, your father had authority to manage the property, but not to withhold its existence from you. Her eyes sharpen. The question is, what do you want to do about it? I think about my family's portrait hanging above the fireplace. The one I'm not in. The deliberate erasure of my existence, mirroring the erasure of my inheritance. Everything I say. I want everything they took from me. Margaret nods, a small smile forming. Then let's get to work. My apartment walls become a crime scene. Bank statements printed and highlighted. Property records taped in chronological order. Tax documents showing deductions my father claimed for property improvements. In the center, I pin a photo I found online my parents at a beachfront resort in Cancun, dated 2 weeks after they cashed the third rental payment. Next to it, a receipt for Brielle's artist retreat in Santa Fe, paid directly from the property management account. Below these, my own calendar from those years' double shifts at the campus coffee shop, the night I fell asleep in the library because I couldn't afford both rent and textbooks that month. The graduation ceremony where I wore a borrowed dress. The mounting evidence makes me dizzy. Each document a knife. What hurts more? The loss of money, or the realization that my family saw me as unworthy of honesty? Would I confront the betrayal head-on, or walk away from both the money and the pain? I trace my finger over my grandfather's signature on the will. His final act was to provide for me, knowing perhaps better than I did how much I would need protection not from the world, but from my own family. To walk away would betray him twice. I reach for my phone. The ivory envelope sits on my kitchen table, a stark contrast to the scattered documents covering my apartment walls. 6 years of betrayal laid out in chronological order: property deeds, bank statements, rental agreements, my inheritance, stolen by the people who should have protected it. I hover my hand over my phone. One call could end this. I could walk away, start fresh somewhere they'd never find me. Forget the money, forget the betrayal, forget them. The photo of me at 19 stares back from the wall. Dark circles under my eyes after a double shift at the campus coffee shop, textbooks spread around me. Pinned beside it, a Facebook post from the same week. Mom, Dad, and Brielle, smiling on the slopes in Aspen. The timestamp matches a $4,200 withdrawal from my property's management account. Grandfather's voice echoes in my memory. You've got vision, Marissa. You see what could be, not just what is. He believed in me when no one else did. My finger falls away from the phone. Some inheritances aren't meant to be abandoned. You can stay here as long as you need. Jackson hands me a mug of coffee, steam curling between us and his family's guest room. Mom's already talking about making you her special Christmas pancakes tomorrow. I shouldn't impose. The words come automatically, though I've nowhere else to go. Christmas Eve with strangers feels less lonely than the silent apartment I left behind. Jackson sits beside me, careful not to disturb the papers spread across the bed. You're not imposing. And this, he gestures to the documents, this isn't just about money. You know that, right? I nod, the tightness in my throat making speech impossible. Family isn't supposed to do this, he says, examining a bank statement. My mom would sell both kidneys before taking a dime from me. The contrast hits me like a physical blow. I've spent years trying to be worthy of people who never saw my worth at all. Tell me again what you'll say. Margaret Hollis adjusts her wire-rimmed glasses, her silver hair catching the afternoon light in her office. I'll place the envelope on the table and say, I think it's time we discussed my inheritance. My voice sounds steadier than it feels. Good. Direct, but not aggressive. She slides the property transfer documents across her desk. Remember, we don't just want the property back. We want acknowledgement of what they've done. I practice the words again, tasting their unfamiliar power. For 30 years, I've swallowed hurt, disappointment, rejection. Tomorrow, they'll be the ones swallowing hard. Your grandfather believed in dignity, Marissa. Margaret's eyes soften. He wouldn't want rage. He'd want truth. I nod, remembering his quiet strength. Christmas morning, they'll all be there, comfortable, surrounded by their gifts. Perfect timing. She places the final notarized document in the envelope. Let them have their last happy Christmas breakfast on your dime. Mrs. Winters had pressed a thermos into my hands before I left my apartment building this evening. Something stronger than cocoa, dear. Dutch courage. The whiskey-laced hot chocolate warms my hands now as I sit in my car across from my parents' house. Through the living room window, I watch them laughing, opening expensive gifts, utterly unaware of what tomorrow will bring. Dad hands Mom a small wrapped box jewelry based on her reaction. The scene looks perfect from outside, like one of those Christmas commercials featuring happy families gathered around a glowing tree. My phone buzzes with a text from Elaine. You've got this. Remember who they are. Remember who you are. I set down the thermos and pick up the ivory envelope. My fingers trace the expensive paper, Margaret's choice, not mine. Documents this important deserve proper presentation, she'd said. For years, I've measured my worth through their eyes, finding myself perpetually lacking. Tonight, watching them through the window, I realize I've been using a broken yardstick. I don't need their approval anymore. The morning sun glints off fresh snow as I park in front of the house. Christmas Day, 9:30 a.m. Through the dining room window, I can see them gathered for breakfast, Mom's traditional cinnamon rolls and mimosas. The ivory envelope feels almost weightless in my hand as I walk up the shoveled path. My heels no longer click with uncertainty. Each step lands with purpose. I don't knock. I still have a key, though they've probably forgotten. The house smells of cinnamon and coffee essence that once meant comfort, now just stage dressing for the scene about to unfold. Their conversation stops when I appear in the dining room doorway. My posture has changed, spine straight, shoulders back, chin level. Not the Marissa they're used to seeing. Oh, Marissa. Mom's voice rises with surprise. We weren't expecting you today after... Well, you left so suddenly yesterday. There's plenty for breakfast if you'd like to join. Her nervous chatter dies as I approach the table without responding. Dad's coffee cup freezes halfway to his mouth. Brielle's eyes narrow, sensing something unfamiliar in my demeanor. I place the ivory envelope in the center of the table, my movements deliberate and calm. The room falls silent except for the ticking of the grandfather clock in the hallway fitting, somehow. Merry Christmas. My voice doesn't waver. I think it's time we discussed my inheritance. The color drains from Dad's face as he stares at the envelope. Mom's smile flickers, then fails completely. Brielle looks between them, confusion giving way to the first hints of alarm. I remain standing, unwilling to cede even the small power of height. The family that had made me feel small will learn today that silence doesn't mean weakness sometimes. It means someone is gathering their strength. The ivory envelope sits in the center of our breakfast table like a bomb waiting to detonate. Dad's coffee mug freezes halfway to his mouth when I place it there. Mom's spatula stills over the frying pan. "What's this?" Dad finally asks, his voice carrying the false cheer that's always preceded uncomfortable family discussions. "Open it." My voice sounds different to my own ears, steady, certain. The room stills as Dad reaches for the envelope. His fingers tremble slightly, something I've never seen before. Gerald Morgan, whose hands built decks and installed ceiling fans with surgical precision, now fumbles with a simple paper flap. He slides out the documents, and the color drains from his face in slow motion, as if someone turned a spigot at the crown of his head. Mom reaches over. "Gerald, what is—" The words die on her lips as she scans the property records. 3 decades of practiced composure crumble in seconds. Brielle glances between them, confusion etched on her face. "What? What is it?" She snatches a paper from Mom's limp fingers, eyes widening as understanding dawns. "This can't be right." "It's exactly right," I say, watching decades of lies collapse under the weight of county records, bank statements, and grandfather Alvin's signature on a will they hoped I'd never discover. The silence stretches between us, thick and suffocating. The ticking of Mom's vintage kitchen clock marks the seconds of their calculated betrayal. Dad recovers first, straightening his shoulders. "Marissa, this was always for the family. Your grandfather's house became an investment for all of us." "For all of us?" I slide another document across the table, photos from their Aspen trip 3 winters ago. "Did my inheritance pay for lessons too?" Next comes a credit card statement. Or Brielle's emergency apartment renovation. Mom's hand flutters to her throat. "We were going to surprise you with it eventually." A laugh escapes me, sharp and unfamiliar. "After 5 years and $144,000 in rental income? That's quite the delayed surprise." "You're trying to destroy this family over money?" Brielle's voice rises, her perfect features contorting in panic. "After everything they've done for you?" "Everything they've done?" I tap the rental agreement with Dad's signature as property manager. "Let's discuss exactly what they've done." I slide forward bank statements showing systematic transfers. "Monthly rental income into your account, Dad." Then magically appearing as payments toward Brielle's credit card. My art school sister, who somehow affords a downtown loft on gallery commissions. Mom's tears fall, now genuine ones, not the performative drops she shed when I announced I couldn't attend Brielle's gallery opening because I was working double shifts. "These records must be mistaken." Dad's voice hardens as he shuffles through papers. "That will wasn't properly executed. Your grandfather was already unwell." "I witnessed that will myself, Mr. Morgan." They jolt at the new voice. Attorney Margaret Hollis steps in from the hallway where she's been waiting, her silver hair and pressed charcoal suit lending authority to her words. "Alvin Morgan was of sound mind when he left that property to his granddaughter. He was also quite specific about his reasons." She places her leather portfolio on the table. "He wanted Marissa to have security that our parent's exact words couldn't compromise." Dad's face reddens. "You can't just walk in here and—" "I've walked in here with a court order." I slide the final papers across the table. "Transfer of property management effective immediately. The rental income transfers to my account starting today." The implications hit them in waves. Dad's jaw slackens. Mom grips the back of a chair. Brielle's eyes dart between them. "But the rent pays for my apartment," Belle whispers. "And the property taxes on this house," Mom adds, voice trembling. Dad looks at me, truly sees me for perhaps the first time in years. "Marissa, you can't possibly." "I already have." I stand, gathering the copies of documents I brought for them. "I'm not just taking back the house. I'm taking back my life. We're your family, Mom pleads, reaching for my hand. I step away from her touch. Family doesn't steal from family. Family doesn't erase family from portraits. Understanding flickers in her eye as she knows exactly which portrait I mean. We can work something out, Dad attempts, businessman to the end. A payment plan, perhaps. The rent covers the mortgage with about $800 left each month, I say. Over 5 years, that's $48,000 you've spent. The additional $96,000 came from remortgaging my property to fund Brielle's Florence semester and your kitchen renovation. I zip my portfolio closed. Attorney Hollis has the paperwork if you'd like to arrange repayment terms. Brielle collapses into a chair. I can't afford my own place. Funny, I say. Neither could I. For 5 years. I walk toward the door, Attorney Hollis beside me. The weight of their stares presses against my back, but my spine remains straight. Marissa. Dad's voice stops me at the threshold. We're still your parents. I turn back one last time. Biology isn't a blank check, Dad. Neither is my silence. The morning sunlight hits my face as I step onto the porch. For the first time in years, I breathe freely, the invisible weight of their expectation and disappointment lifting from my shoulders. Some might call this vengeance. I call it reclamation. When someone has taken advantage of your trust for years, do they deserve mercy? Would you have demanded back payment of all stolen funds, or was reclaiming the future enough? The line between justice and vengeance blurs when those who should protect you become those who exploit you. I chose to take back tomorrow rather than demand yesterday, because some debts can never truly be repaid. The certified letter sits unopened on my kitchen counter for 3 hours. The return address Blackwell and Associates, attorneys at law, tells me everything I need to know. My parents have decided to fight. When I finally slide my finger under the flap, the legal letterhead confirms what Attorney Hollis predicted. Our clients Gerald and Karen Morgan assert that verbal family agreements supersede the written will in question. I call Hollis immediately. Her voice carries the calm assurance I've come to rely on these past weeks. They're grasping at straws, Marissa. Your grandfather protected you better than they know. The next morning, I meet her at her wood-paneled office. Hollis pulls out a slim silver recorder from her desk drawer. Alvin insisted we record this statement alongside his will signing. Said he knew exactly what might happen. She presses play, and my throat tightens at the sound of my grandfather's voice gravel in warmth, exactly as I remember. This is Alvin Morgan, sound of mind and body. I'm leaving my Southbridge property to my granddaughter Marissa Eleanor Morgan, with full knowledge that my daughter Karen and her husband Gerald may attempt to override my wishes. My granddaughter deserves security that her parents cannot compromise. Any verbal agreements they claim existed should be considered null and void. His voice wavers slightly before continuing. I've watched them favor my younger granddaughter while Marissa worked herself to exhaustion. This property is my attempt to balance what should never have been unbalanced. I press my fingers against my lips, holding back unexpected tears. We have this, Hollis says, clicking off the recorder. Your grandfather knew exactly who they were. 3 days later, I drive past my father's office building on my way to meet the tenants. His silver Lexus is gone, replaced by a modest Honda. Through the street-level window, I glimpse him at a desk, phone pressed to his ear, shoulders hunched, cold calling former clients for consultant work. At Nordstrom, my mother arranges scarves on a display table, her hands moving with unfamiliar efficiency. The store manager hovers nearby, pointing toward a rack that needs straightening. Karen Morgan now works part-time at the boutique where she once dropped thousands on weekend shopping sprees. I don't stop at either place. There's a strange absence of satisfaction in seeing their downfall. At the local coffee shop, I spot Brielle's flyer taped beside the register. Support local artists' journey, with a QR code into a GoFundMe page. The barista tells me she's moved back home after studio funding issues. Later that night, I check the campaign $83 raised of a $15,000 goal. Before I can stop myself, I donate $2 anonymously, under my ex-boyfriend Tyler's name. Mrs. Chambers meets me at the property with a plate of snickerdoodles, just like she used to bring my grandfather. "I can't tell you how relieved I am," she says, inviting me into her ground floor apartment. "Your father raised rent twice last year, but wouldn't fix my leaky faucet. Said it wasn't in the budget." I run my fingers along water stains on her ceiling, the loose cabinet hinges, the drafty windows sealed with plastic sheeting. The other tenants share similar stories: consistent rent increases, minimal repairs. "I'm keeping your rental rates as they are," I tell Mrs. Chambers before leaving. "But I'm starting renovations next week, beginning with your bathroom." She presses her weathered hand against mine. "Your grandfather would be proud." I notice she doesn't mention my parents. The letter arrives on cream stationery, my mother's familiar handwriting flowing across the envelope. I brew coffee before opening it, steeling myself. "Marissa, we didn't know how much the property meant to you. Perhaps we misunderstood Dad's intentions. Maybe we can start over as a family. It's time to put this unfortunate situation behind us." No apology, no acknowledgement. Just vague implications that I'm the unreasonable one for wanting what's legally mine. I place the letter in my desk drawer without responding. They've had my silence for years. Now it's my turn to give it back. I almost miss her at Lowe's. I'm comparing paint samples when my mother appears at the end of the aisle, a basket of gardening supplies hanging from her arm. She looks smaller somehow, her designer clothes replaced by jeans and a plain sweater. "Marissa." I nod, returning to my paint chips. "Please," she says, her voice cracking. "You've made your point. Can't we be a family again?" I place the samples back in their slots, turning to face her fully. Her eyes are rimmed with red, her hands twisting the basket handle. "We were never a family," I say quietly. "You were just people I happened to be related to." Karen flinches as if I'd slapped her. For a moment, I see something genuine in her expression. Not the loss of money or status, but the first glimmer of understanding what they've truly forfeited. "I didn't," she begins. "Have a nice day, Karen." I leave her standing there, surrounded by possibilities in every color, except the ones we might have shared. Some bridges weren't built to last. Some were never really built at all. I drag the roller up the living room wall, watching seafoam green replace dingy beige. 3 coats today, my shoulders aching with the effort. But Grandpa Alvin would have approved of this shade. He once told me green brings life into old bones. "That color suits this place," Mrs. Chambers says from her perch on my stepladder. At 78, she's outlasted 2 husbands and refuses to move despite my offer to help with relocation costs. "Your grandfather knew what he was doing when he built these walls." Sunlight streams through the new bay windows I installed last week, twice the size of the originals. The light catches dust motes dancing in the air, illuminating corners that have been dark for decades. "He'd love what you're doing, Mrs. Chambers continues, her arthritis-twisted fingers wrapped around a mug of tea. "Especially those windows. Alvin always said a house should breathe with whoever lives in it." I dip the roller, squeezing excess paint against the tray. "Did he ever mention why he left this place to me specifically?" Mrs. Chambers snorts. "Because you were the only one who helped him replace the gutters when you were 12 while your sister complained about breaking her nails." In the backyard, spring bulbs push through the soil where Grandpa and I once planted vegetables. He'd guide my small hands, showing me how to test the earth's readiness. "Patience," he'd say, "is what separates builders from destroyers." The garden sits half-finished, like everything else in this house. One room painted, another gutted, new windows in front, old ones in back. A house in transition, just like its owner. I find it while replacing the loose floorboard in the home office wall safe hidden behind a cheap print of a sailing ship. The combination takes 3 tries. Grandpa's birthday, then mine, then the year he bought this house. Inside sits a cream-colored envelope, my name written in his careful block letters. My fingers tremble as I break the seal, unfolding paper that smells faintly of his pipe tobacco. "Marissa, if you're reading this, you've finally discovered what was yours all along. I'm sorry I didn't tell you directly about this house. Your parents convinced me it would be better as a surprise when you were ready. I suspect now their definition of readiness might never have arrived. I gave you this house because you build homes wherever you go. Not just with hammers and nails, but with how you make people feel welcome, safe, seen. Remember when you were 8 and helped me replace these floorboards? You insisted on measuring twice because people will walk here every day, Grandpa. That's when I knew. Tucked inside the letter is a faded photograph. Me, at 8, gap-toothed grin, holding a level against a door frame while Grandpa kneels beside me. My legs give out. I sink to the newly finished hardwood, letter clutched against my chest. Someone had seen me, all along. 2 weeks later, I drive past my parents' house by accident. Dad's Lexus is gone, replaced by a used sedan. Mom waters wilting hydrangeas in yesterday's clothes. Through the window, I glimpse Brielle arguing with someone on her phone, desperation written across her face. I don't slow down. To homes built on honesty, not obligation, Margaret Hollis raises her glass, silver hair gleaming in the light of my new dining room chandelier. Around my table sit the people who carried me through. Jackson from work, who helped install cabinetry on weekends. Elaine, who organized my legal paperwork while feeding me soup when I couldn't eat. Mrs. Winters from next door, who checks on me daily with fresh muffins and no questions. Mrs. Chambers, who shares stories about Grandpa that make me laugh until I cry. After dinner, we gather on the porch. Someone suggests a photo, and we arrange ourselves against the newly painted railing. The self-timer clicks, capturing genuine smiles. Later, I place the framed photo above my fireplace. The porch swing Grandpa's favorite spot creaks gently as I rock back and forth. Keys dangle from my fingers, catching the sunset's glow. The weight I've carried since Christmas feels lighter here, breathable. Behind me stands my house. My inheritance. Not just wood and plaster, but the recognition that I was worth something all along. Thank you for seeing me when no one else did, I whisper to the evening air. The wind rustles through new leaves on the maple Grandpa planted the year I was born. Its branches stronger now, reaching higher. I used to think that real love, was something you earned. That if I was good enough, quiet enough, independent enough, they'd notice. But real love doesn't make you disappear. Real love doesn't come with conditions. They gave me nothing, so I gave myself everything. Some family portraits don't need other people in them to be complete. The porch swing sways in perfect cadence with my breathing, as if the house itself inhales and exhales with me. For the first time in 29 years, I am exactly where I belong.